Opinions, we all have them. And, well, I've got my trusty notepad out again to try and delve into and try and get to the bottom of an opinion I have had for a while. And so I'm asking the question, was Jenson Button overrated? Jenson Button, the 2009 Formula 1 World Drivers' Champion. The fairy tale story of him at Brawn, rising from the ashes like a phoenix to claim the World Drivers' Championship ahead of the following pack, the Lewis Hamiltons of the world, the Sebastian Vettels, the Mark Webbers, the Rubens Barrichellos. His career spanned 16 years in Formula 1. He drove for some fantastic teams, Williams, Benetton, who then became Renault, BAR, who then became Honda, who then in part became Brawn, then he went on to McLaren. He drove for some of the biggest names in the sport's history. So why do I hold this belief that he was slightly overrated? I'll just get into the notes I've made. He made 306 starts, he won 15 races, stepped on the podium a further 35 times and qualified on pole position 8 times. But his lack of poles is perhaps understandable when you think that his career only sort of peaked about 10 years into his career when you think of it. In 2009, his championship winning season, he won 6 races, all of which were in the first 7 races of the season. He doesn't win after that. He finished the season on 95 points, winning 68 of those points in that aforementioned first 7 races. Obviously, as other cars caught up and continued to develop, whilst Brawn with their limited budget, they were not able to develop. Cars caught up and they slowly found themselves further back the grid. And yet Barrichello still managed to win 2 races in the second half of the season, and those 2 races were crucial to winning Brawn the Constructors. I would argue that Button's best season was in 2004 for BAR Honda, where he finished the season in 3rd. He won 85 points that season, but didn't win a single race. He came 3rd behind the dominant Ferraris of Rubens Barrichello and, of course, Michael Schumacher. And he stepped on the podium 10 times in 04, whilst he only stepped on the podium 9 times in 09. His other good season, as such, was in 2011 when he was runner-up. He came 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, but he was 122 points behind Sebastian Vettel. However, he did beat his teammate Lewis Hamilton by 43, which is impressive. His last win was in 2012, the final race of 2012, Brazil, when Sebastian Vettel won the Drivers' Championship again. He came 5th that year. Looking back through his career, I just said I thought his best year was 2004, yet he didn't win a race until 2006 in Hungary. Driving wise, he was always criticised for not being able to get tyres up to temperature. However, he always claimed that was due to his very, very smooth driving style, which you could agree with at times. Jacques Villeneuve once claimed that Jenson Button looked like he'd be more suited to be in a boy band, but Jacques Villeneuve that was once he'd become a bit bitter later on in his career. However, his team boss Flavio Briatore previously claimed that he was a lazy playboy, which Button perhaps agrees with in his earlier career. How did he stack up against his teammates? Because he sure had a fair few through his career. Well, obviously, as an inexperienced rookie, he lost to Ralf Schumacher, Giancarlo Fisichella, like you might understand. However, he beat Jarno Trulli. Trulli obviously outqualified him, but he did beat him over the long term. He then beat Jacques Villeneuve, the Formula World Champion, and he absolutely dominated Takuma Sato for their 2 years at Honda together, or BAR. He beat Rubens Barrichello 2 years on the trot when they joined each other at Honda, but then lost to him in 2008 in a really, really bad year where Button only scored 3 points all season, which actually makes the championship winning season of 09 seem even more remarkable, jumping from 3 points to 95, and obviously he beat Barrichello in 09. He then joined Lewis Hamilton at McLaren. Hamilton won in 2010, Button came runner-up to Vettel in 2011, so obviously beat Hamilton, but then Hamilton had him back by 2 points in 2012 before leaving to Mercedes. Button's next 2 teammates were on the decline of McLaren in stature, in performance and in drivers hired. He beat Sergio Perez and Kevin Magnussen, and then Fernando Alonso in 2015. But in 2016, his final full year as a Formula 1 driver, Alonso had over double the points of Button, and at one point Button was behind in the drivers' standings Stoffel Van Dorn, who only raced one time that season. So overall, am I right to think that Jenson Button was slightly overrated? He had a good and long, decent career. Could I see George Russell perhaps being the next one of him, not winning a race for ages and ages and ages because he's in not very good machinery? I don't know. It's early times now, and overall it is just opinions. Maybe my opinion will change in years to come. But looking back at it now, I think when people say someone like Nico Rosberg is perhaps the least qualified or the least deserving or the most overrated champion of recent years, I think if you look at Button's career compared to Rosberg's, I think Rosberg had a better run of things. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I still love Jenson. As a British Formula 1 fan, he was, you always look up to them. You always try to support them in a way. And of course, Canada 2011 is my favourite race of all time. Having watched every single minute, having sat through every single second of tractors brushing away water from the track during an hour and a half delay, I think it was, and just watching men with brooms, and then track marshals not wearing high-vis tabards, just wearing full black tracksuits, managing to step out onto the track and fall over in front of F1 cars. They were different times, and that was only 9 years ago. Oh well, as ever, opinions, and as ever, there's not really a way to end this, so ta-ra.